Hello and welcome to this DuraCloud demonstration. The DuraCloud login screen that you see in front of you is available in this case at demo.duracloud.org. As a DuraCloud customer, you have the ability to request a customized URL as part of the startup and configuration process of your DuraCloud account. And you can insert anything into the demo portion of the DuraCloud URL so that your DuraCloud account resolves at that URL. So you can insert your institution name, your organization name, or anything that you wish into the demo portion. With that, I'm going to log in here as an administrative user. Bear with me while I type and the interface loads. The first thing that I'll draw your attention to, as there's quite a bit of information here in the DuraCloud interface, is below the DuraCloud branding in the top left, you'll see the Amazon Web Services logo. That gives you an indication that the content in the interface below is being stored in Amazon Web Services, specifically the Amazon Simple Storage Service provider, or Amazon S3 as it's more commonly called. As a DuraCloud customer, you can optionally have your account configured with additional secondary cloud storage providers, one or many additional secondary providers. And if you've done so, you'll see a provider pull down in the top right-hand side of your screen. Options include the San Diego Supercomputer Cloud Storage Center at the University of California, San Diego, Amazon Glacier, and Rackspace Cloud Files. To navigate to the content stored, for instance, in the San Diego Supercomputer Cloud Center, simply choose it from the drop-down, click on the name, and you'll see that now in the top left, the logo has changed, giving you an indication that the content in the interface below is being stored at that cloud storage provider. One of the real benefits of DuraCloud is that it enables you to leverage multiple cloud storage providers, store content with different vendors and different geographic locations, and have access to the content all in one unified interface. Navigating back to Amazon S3 here momentarily. Before I jump into the interface itself, just a few notes. The interface itself is oriented from left to right, so you'll see more details as you select things on the left-hand side of your screen. The details will appear on the right. And then I will note the account level or account-wide reports and information that's available here on the right-hand side of the screen. Before you click on anything, you can see a history of content that's been added or deleted to your DuraCloud account over time, in this case for 6 years, as well as a breakout of content by space. I won't delve into that, it's pretty straightforward. The first step when you get started with your DuraCloud account, because you will have no spaces listed here on the left, it will be certainly an empty account, is to add a DuraCloud space. Now, a DuraCloud space is a term that's analogous to a content container or a content bucket. It's essentially the mechanism for storing your content items in the cloud. So the first step will be adding a space that you can then upload your content items into. A DuraCloud space can be named really anything. There are a few caveats in the gray box. No bizarre sequences of dots or dashes, as is probably pretty common in any web application. Let's do data photos today, and they all must be lowercase, and click add. So while that space is being added, you'll see that it is automatically added at the bottom of the list. And this list is alphabetized, so by default the newly added space is appended at the bottom, but if you reload the browser or click on the Spaces tab, it will then alphabetize, though of course I started my space with a Z, so it stays at the bottom. Before I click on that empty space, I did want to show a few other additional pieces of information for a space that already has content. So clicking on the Carissa Images space, you can click anywhere in the row or in the checkbox You'll see a list of content items currently stored in that space in this center column, and then you'll see details for whatever it is you've selected in the previous two columns here in the right, which is always the detail column. So below, just jumping in here at the space detail level, and then I'll jump into the content items. The first thing you'll see is the name of the space you have selected, in this case Carissa Images. As an administrator, you have the ability to do multiple things at a space level. You can delete the space and all of the content stored within the space by clicking the delete button. Rest assured, this is a multi-step process, so you would be prompted with at least one, if not two, subsequent pop-up screens to confirm that you want to delete the space. You can download the audit log. The audit log captures every single activity that has been conducted on the space over time, the user who was responsible for that action or activity, and the date, of course. So all of that information is automatically captured in the audit log, and actions are up to date within a few seconds. So if you're actively adding content, that is being captured actively in the audit log. Similarly, the manifest file is also downloadable here in the interface. And the manifest includes the content item list as well as the MD5 values for each content item that are stored in this space. And again, if you're actively adding content, the manifest is automatically being updated by the DuraCloud software. You can make a space publicly readable, and you may have seen that checkbox in the space creation window as well. By default, all spaces in DuraCloud are closed, meaning all of the individual content items stored in DuraCloud are not available unless you have a DuraCloud login screen. But you can make, at a space level, the items available for public read, meaning that their individual storage URLs are then available and don't prompt a DuraCloud login. And I will give an example of that here in just a moment when we look at the individual content items. But just note that you can, at a space level, make all of these, in this case, 112 items available for public read. You could embed the storage URLs for those items in other applications if you wish to do so. You can also turn on streaming at a space level. So if you've uploaded audio and video files that work with our streaming software, you can stream those from DuraCloud or embed those streams in other applications as well. And I'll show an example of that in just a moment. But turning streaming on at a space level is as very simple as clicking on or off, toggling it on or off. Below that, you'll see, let me keep this expanded for a moment. Below the main button functionality here at the space detail, you have the ability to create permissions or assign permissions at a space level. So I've logged in as an administrative user here, but the other level of user that you can enable in DuraCloud allows you to restrict permissions. So you can create groups or give individual users the ability to log in to a DuraCloud account. And at a space level, you can decide whether or not they can see the space and have access to the items, and whether they have the ability to add additional items or delete items within a space. So the read functionality given to either a group or an individual gives that user or group the ability to read the items in a space, so view that they're there. The write capability gives the user or group the ability to add additional content, delete content in a space, and make actions such as that. To edit existing permissions, you simply click Edit, and you can toggle the read and write capabilities on or off. And to add additional users or groups, you simply click Add, and then you can select the read and write capabilities. You can delineate between groups and individual users by the icons, and you can also toggle the public read and write access on and off here as well. Multiple ways to do things here in the interface. Below permissions, there are details that are automatically generated and reported by DuraCloud. Of course, the number of items in the space, the date the space was created, in this case almost 6 years ago, and one of the most important features of DuraCloud in my opinion, and that is the ability to view the date that the last MD5 bit level health check report the date that the service was run, and then you can access the report as well. So a few important pieces of information are available here in this green bar. First, you can see the date that the last health check was run over these 112 items. You can see the status. It was a success, meaning all items came back as reported as healthy in storage. And you can access and download the report from the link. Briefly to describe how the integrity health check service runs in DuraCloud. When you first upload content into DuraCloud, the software will generate an MD5 checksum value for each individual item. It will then ensure that it was uploaded successfully, and then the DuraCloud software will push that content to the storage provider, in this case Amazon S3. Amazon S3 will calculate what it feels the MD5 value is for your items, and DuraCloud will do a comparison upon first upload to make sure that your item has successfully been transferred from your local environment to DuraCloud and then to the actual storage provider. So there's an initial MD5 check that's done upon first uploading content to DuraCloud. DuraCloud continues to store the MD5 value that it calculated when you first uploaded the item with that item for as long as it lives in DuraCloud. So until you delete it, it will always have an MD5 value associated with it. And on a periodic basis, DuraCloud runs a full health check where it will pull the stored MD5 value for each individual item, which is also the MD5 value that's available in the manifest. It will request or pull Amazon S3 for what it feels the MD5 value for each of these items is. And then it will also stream the item out of Amazon's S3 storage infrastructure and recalculate the MD5 value for the item on the fly the day that the check is running. So on Friday, July 8th, the health check service pulled out all 112 of these items from Amazon storage and recalculated the MD5 values on the fly. And then the final bit of the health check is that it does a three-way comparison to confirm that the DuraCloud MD5 that was calculated upon original upload for each of these items compares to the MD5 that Amazon, the storage provider, is reporting, and compares to the on-the-fly calculated MD5 value for the item, to ensure that indeed the content has been stored securely on Amazon infrastructure and has not encountered any bit loss or bit rot or any other sort of corruption at all. So when you download this report, you'll see three different MD5 values, three different MD5 columns in a spreadsheet, and all of the values for each content item should be the same. Here's where I typically get a question around what happens if there is a mismatch detected, and how do I know as a customer, and this is my content. So if DuraCloud, the integrity check service, encounters a mismatch, an MD5 value mismatch, the first step is that it will rerun the check to make sure that there wasn't a software glitch or hiccup or a bit dropped somewhere in the process, and confirm that it is indeed a legitimate integrity error detected. If that is the case, if indeed the item has suffered some sort of bit loss or bit rot, then the DuraCloud software will pull and check a secondary copy of the content. So if you have another copy in Amazon Glacier, the DuraCloud service will find that replica copy of the content, do an integrity check, and auto-heal or auto-restore from that secondary copy. If you don't have a secondary copy and the service, DuraCloud Bit Integrity Service, has encountered that integrity error, then an email is sent to you to let you know the impact of the integrity check in the item involved. If the secondary copy of the item is also corrupt, which would be we have never seen, we haven't really detected any integrity issues since launching the DuraCloud service in beta over 5, probably 7 years ago now, which is another common question. We have not detected an integrity issue that is the fault of Amazon yet. That's not to say it won't happen. But if both copies of your content are corrupt, we would also send the administrator on the account an email letting you know that both copies are corrupt. Oh, there was something else I was going to say about this. Oh, the other question that I often get for the health check is how often does it run? How often will I see an updated report? And the answer to that is it depends. DuraCloud is constantly running through every single customer account and every single content item in a cycle. So as soon as it finishes all of our customer content, it starts over again. That has typically been running more than quarterly. But we do strive to at least run an integrity check over the entire corpus of content that DuraCloud is responsible for on a quarterly basis. So it's likely you'll see the health check running more frequently than quarterly, but we do strive to at least run it quarterly over all of your content. So please do keep that in mind as well, that DuraCloud is actively monitoring all content. Below that, you'll see again a very similar graph that shows you the history of content added and deleted to this account over time, or to this space, over time, very similar to the account level one that was available before. Clicking on a content item, you'll see the content detail panel now reflected here on the right-hand side of your screen. Directly below the content detail heading itself is not only the name of the item that you've selected, but it's also the item's storage URL. So if you open this in a new tab, and I've been talking too long, so it's prompting me here to put in my credentials, you'll see the item itself, and this is pulled directly from Amazon S3. This is the storage URL that if it were available in a public space, you could embed in an application and you would not be prompted to log in, or you could send it in an email to a colleague and use it sort of like Dropbox. They could pull this item. An image would be rendered in a browser. If it was a document, a Word document, a PDF, etc., or any other type of file, the browser would prompt you to download it. So that's really the impact of making a space publicly readable, is that every single individual storage URL, and of course every item has a unique storage URL, could be made available outside of DuraCloud and requiring that login screen. Toggling it on and off is available at the space level, and it does take effect immediately. So if you inadvertently turn it on, turn public on, you can quickly turn it off and your items go back to being behind the DuraCloud login screen. All right, below the name of the item and its storage URL, you'll see the Mime Type associated with the item. The Mime Type is attributed to the item upon upload and is done so by the DuraCloud software looking at the file extension. There is no file format verification or validation. So if you have a Word document that has a .jpg file extension, the Mime Type is given image.jpg. So just keep that in mind. It's not incredibly sophisticated. It's just looking at the file extension, whether it's right or wrong and matches the actual file itself. You can manually change the Mime Type by clicking on the Edit button. You can copy an item within DuraCloud, and you can create a copy within the same space, or you can copy it to another space. It essentially saves you a longer step of re-uploading a file if you want a copy of it in DuraCloud. Of course, you can download individual files in DuraCloud, or there is a DuraCloud retrieval tool which will allow you to bulk download content from a space or multiple spaces. You can view an item in, what this does is opens it up in a new tab or a new browser window, and your browser will render it if it's an image. There's no sophisticated image viewing capability built in. And of course, you can delete individual items as well. Yet again, it is a multi-step deletion process to confirm that you actually want to delete the item. Below that, you'll see details about this particular item, the space it's stored in, its size, its date that it was added to DuraCloud, and its MD5 checksum value, which is again the same value that's stored in the manifest for the space as well. Below that, you'll see properties, which are name value pairs and one-word tags that you can add. The properties that you see associated with this file were automatically added when the item was uploaded through the DuraCloud synchronization tool, which I will demo in just a moment. So these 5 fields, property fields, were automatically added to this item when it was uploaded with the DuraCloud sync tool. The 5 fields are the file's modified, accessed, and created dates, MAC information, that the file had when it lived locally. So when this bench of pups JPEG image was uploaded to DuraCloud from the local directory where it was stored, this is the MAC information for that file. You can see the DuraCloud user that created or uploaded this item originally, the ctest user. And then it also stores the original full path to the file from where it was uploaded from on the local machine of the person who was uploading the item. So this item originally lived in on Carissa user desktop in a puppies/boxers folder. I have a lot of puppy folders on my desktop, just in case you were curious. So it does preserve that information, which for some users is of the utmost importance, the MAC information as well as the original path to the file. And again, that's all automatically captured by the sync tool, which I'll demonstrate in just a moment. So the last thing here in the interface I wanted to just briefly touch on is the upload button that you likely saw in the content items panel. The upload button allows you to choose a file from your local machine or drag and drop into the dotted box, and allows you to use this web browser to upload files. As you might expect with any web application, uploading hundreds of files or many gigabytes of content is not the most efficient way to do that. So I really encourage people to use the upload capability when they're just getting familiar with DuraCloud, but when you are ready to actually start pushing the majority of your content, to use the DuraCloud synchronization tool. You can very quickly and easily download that by using the hyperlinked question "Want to make uploads automatic," which launches you into the DuraCloud documentation area on the wiki for the synchronization tool and gives you the ability to download the tool as well. It is a standalone application that you install on your local machine, so there are a variety of installers based on your operating system, as well as a command line version of the tool if you're more comfortable with working at the command line with these types of tools. I downloaded the tool prior to this, so you wouldn't have to watch a download, and I also installed it. I put it right on my desktop. It really was a 5-minute download and install process from download to install. It's very simple. And as soon as you install it, it pops up in your default browser or a new tab in your default browser, and it walks you through the process of uploading content, which I'll walk you through now. So again, this is the DuraCloud Sync Tool Wizard, and the first step in the upload process is choosing what mode you'd like to run this tool in. So there are two very distinct modes that you can run the synchronization tool in. You can run it continuously, meaning that it is truly synchronizing content. It'll be monitoring your local content that you'll choose here in one of the subsequent screens, and it will continue to monitor those directories for new content coming in or changes to that content. If you don't want to truly continue to run this tool and have it synchronize and automatically kind of propagate changes to your DuraCloud account, and you just want to do kind of a one-time bulk upload, you can use the single path only mode, which will tell the tool to upload all of the content that you've chosen, and then it will shut down automatically. So keep that in mind. The tool is really flexible to meet whatever use case you have, and you can come back and reconfigure this tool as well. So you're not making decisions that you're stuck with forever. You can come back and modify any of these wizard screens that we'll be walking through, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So really the main difference is whether you want to continuously run the tool or you just want a one-time bulk upload. So that's the difference between run continuously and single path only. I'm going to click run continuously. No reason, just because I feel like it this morning. The first step is inserting the URL to your DuraCloud account, the host name, and then of course inserting your credentials as well, as the tool needs to interact with your DuraCloud account and needs to do so in a safe and secure way. The next step is selecting the space that you'd like to upload your content into, and I'm going to choose my Zeta Photos Today space, as that's the one that we created earlier. So let me navigate to that space and show you that it is indeed totally empty. So we've chosen the Zeta Photos Today space. One thing I'll note here, obviously you need to create the space before you can upload content into it, so that is always the first step. The next screen, we're getting almost to the end, is the most important screen, and that's selecting the content that you would like to upload. And by default, you see all of the drives on the local machine that you're running the tool, and also any other networked drives as well. So if you have network storage or an attached hard drive, you can upload content from that as well. I have prepared a folder on my desktop called Zeta Zo, which is my dog, and I am going to simply select that directory, and it will upload. The sync tool will upload all of the content and all of the subdirectories within that directory. So I'm going to click Add to add my Zeta Zo. I can add additional directories or even individual files by clicking Add Directory or Files, and you can continue to select as much content as you'd like. You can add as high level of a directory as you'd like, so I could back up my entire system, which would upload all of the subdirectories and every single content item stored within that system if you'd like. Or you can get even more specific and upload, let's upload an individual image. Let's do, it's summer, so let's upload the summer stream JPEG image. So you can be as high level or as nested in a directory as you'd like. Once you have added all of the content here that you'd like to upload, you click Next. Before I delve into the screen, I did want to show quickly what that folder looks like on my local directory. So here's my Zeta Zo folder on my desktop. If I click into it, you'll see that there are 4 images, and then there's also a subdirectory with 1 image, and that's important to remember. I'll show you how that this directory structure is actually preserved as well in DuraCloud, which I'll show in just a moment. So the last and final part of the wizard before we actually upload content, the fun part, is to make some decisions about how the tool should run if it interacts with certain changes to the directories and the files that it's watching, that it's monitoring. So if you have chosen to run the tool in a single pass only mode, it's only running once and it's going to shut down, you can completely ignore this screen as it doesn't apply. But if you're running the tool in the run continuously mode, like I chose, you need to tell the tool how it needs to interact with changes that may occur to that Zeta Zo folder, for instance. So if I go in, once the tool is run, it's uploaded that content, and I go in and I delete one of those files. How do I want the tool to interact with that change to that local content? So the first policy is determining whether you want the tool to synchronize that delete to your DuraCloud account. Meaning, do you want it to remove that item from DuraCloud so that your local content is directly mirrored in DuraCloud? By default, DuraCloud never synchronizes deletes. So if I go in and I delete all those files and they have been previously uploaded to DuraCloud, nothing will happen. They will continue to be preserved in DuraCloud. However, there are some DuraCloud customers who have a use case where they'd like to keep their local directories and all of their local content directly mirrored with their DuraCloud content, which includes deletes. They don't ever want to have essentially orphan files in DuraCloud that no longer live on their local machine. That terrifies me, that use case, but again, there are some individuals, some institutions where they'd like to keep the two directly synchronized, so you can turn on synchronized deletes. Just be careful if you do so. That's my spiel. I'll step down from my soapbox. The other action that the tool may encounter is if a file is changed that it had previously uploaded. So if I go in and I open one of my photos and I save it as black and white with the same name, the file is obviously different than the colored version that was uploaded to DuraCloud several days ago. How do I want the sync tool to handle that sort of change to a file? There are three options. You can overwrite the existing content in DuraCloud with the newest version of that local file. You can ignore any local changes and keep the original preserved in DuraCloud. Or the third option is what I call versioning, and it's noted here as updating but not overwriting, so preserving the original in the cloud. And in that case, the synchronization tool will upload that black and white version of the photo, and it will append on today's date. So you'll have multiple copies, multiple Zeta on the couch.jpg images to delineate the changes, and it will have the dates tacked on to the end. In this case, if it's a file that's changing frequently, it could result in having 10, 15, 20 different versions of that file in DuraCloud. So if you do have files that are constantly changing, it may not make sense to choose this option. But if you very infrequently change files, but you do want to capture changes but not overwrite existing, then this option may make sense. So as you've seen, this DuraCloud synchronization tool is quite flexible to meet a whole variety of use cases based on how you preserve your local content, what your local workflow is for storing and preserving that content locally. The last option, the Jumpstart feature, is not really a policy. It allows you, when you're first uploading content to DuraCloud, to jumpstart the process. So if you're uploading content to an empty DuraCloud space or an empty DuraCloud account entirely, it makes good sense to accelerate that process. It essentially tells the sync tool to not run some of its initial checks that it would have to run if it's uploading content from a local environment to a DuraCloud account or DuraCloud space that already has content. So it just accelerates that upload process. So if you're uploading for the first time or uploading to a new DuraCloud space that doesn't have any content, you can accelerate that upload process, which I will do today. So the final step is actually saying you're done with the wizard and you can start the process now to start uploading. If you just want to review your changes, you can click continue, or if you're running the tool for the first time, I recommend optimizing the tool. The optimize button will launch you into a screen to run a test to optimize the upload process. There will be a few automatic tests that the DuraCloud sync tool runs. Takes about 10 minutes, and it will set the correct number of parallel uploads or transfers to DuraCloud that the tool will continue running with. And the tests allow the tool to set the correct number of parallel uploads based on the processing capability of the machine you're running the tool on, the network and internet bandwidth capability of that is given or available to the machine. It takes in takes into account a whole host of variables. The optimize button does. So I strongly recommend running that the first time that you start to upload content to DuraCloud, and then once you've done it once, you don't have to re-optimize. But to keep this video short-ish, I'm going to simply start now. On the left-hand side, you'll see that the tool is starting up. At the bottom here, we'll see the items that are queued for synchronization, and this queue can be hundreds and hundreds of files long if you're uploading quite a bit of content. You'll see synchronizations that are actively happening here on the right-hand side of the screen, and as they move over the wire to DuraCloud, they'll be listed in the recent activity log. You can download your entire upload history to DuraCloud, which always makes me giggle, download and upload history. Again, now from starting, the tool has gone to running. You can see it's in green. You can continue to watch as content is being transferred over the wire. When the tool is complete, it will result in or what's the reword that I want? It will go back to the waiting status as it's waiting for content to change or new content to be added to that directory. So if I added a few more Zeta photos to that directory, it would automatically pick those up when it's in this waiting stage. If we had run the tool in a single pass only mode, it would no longer give you a green bar. It would say stopped. So keep that in mind. One thing to note about this tool as well is that if you close out of the browser, it's still going to be running. Depending on your operating system, you can always get back to the tool by clicking on the DuraCloud Sync icon that's somewhere in your taskbar. On a Mac, it's in the top right. On the Windows, it's in the bottom right or bottom left, depending on your operating system. You can always get back to view the status. So this is always running. If you actually want to stop the tool from monitoring and stop it from running, you have to click on the stop button, which will actually stop the process of watching those local directories. And you can always restart it at any point in time. The tool is generating log files, so if your computer crashes or you log off, it will gracefully pick up where it left off, so don't be alarmed. And you can always reconfigure the tool as well. So the last thing I wanted to show is there is a configuration tab here in the top left, and that gives you access to all of the data that you inserted in those wizard screens. You can come back in and make any changes or modify those decisions if you want to run the tool in a different mode, or if you want to change your policies, or you want to upload to a different DuraCloud space, you want to upload different content, you can change any of that information and then simply come back and click on Start to restart the sync process or the upload process. So the last and final thing that I wanted to demonstrate, I'll reload my Zeta Photos Today space. You'll see that the items were all successfully added. And I did want to note that the items that I chose, the subdirectory was preserved in the naming of this item. So as a comparison point here, ignore the DS store files. You can see that it uploaded the 4 Zeta photos from the directory, and it also preserved the subdirectory in the name of the item in that subdirectory. So although the DuraCloud interface itself doesn't have a nested directory structure, it does preserve that here in the naming convention. And if you were to use the DuraCloud retrieval tool to download this content, that subdirectory would be recreated locally. So it does preserve all of that information. As you probably noted, though, it does not preserve the top level folder. So the ZetaZo folder on my desktop, let me pull that up, was not preserved in the naming scheme, which is something to note. It behaves that way because if you had selected your C drive, for instance, it's likely that you don't want to preserve C/ in front of everything. You just want to preserve everything in that directory. So just keep that in mind as you're uploading content. And with that, I will end this video. If you have any additional questions about DuraCloud, please don't hesitate to email info@duracloud.org. If you are a current customer of DuraCloud and you have a question, don't hesitate to email support@duracloud.org or visit support.duraspace.org to submit a support request. Again, enjoy using DuraCloud and take care.